everyone, welcome to another Knittycat's Knits video, and in this one I'm going to show you how to do the simpler version of the basket weave stitch. There is a little bit more advanced version that I'll do, I've posted in a separate video, but in this one I'm going to show you the simple version. This is a great stitch for a beginner knitter because all you need to know is how to knit and purl and of course cast on and cast off. But with that, you can knit up a pattern that looks really pretty. The simple version is pretty much reversible on both sides, as you can see here in the swatch that I've knit up. And I haven't blocked this swatch or anything, so it lays pretty much flat when you knit it. And great pattern to try for lots of projects. You can use it to make a scarf or a baby blanket or just a regular blanket. I'm actually looking to see if I can use this basket weave pattern and knit a hat out of it. I think it would look good for a hat. If I do have a good pattern for that, I'll be sure to share it. But for now, let me show you how to just knit this stitch. So the pattern is provided in the description field. It is a multiple of 5 stitches. And I've cast on 15 stitches for this demonstration. I'm using double pointed needles just because they're short and works well for me. You don't need double pointed needles for this pattern. Just regular needles are fine. The pattern itself is a repeat of 12 rows. So you do 6 rows in one pattern and then 6 rows in the next pattern to alternate those checkerboards. So it's really simple. The first 6 rows, your pattern goes knit 5. So you're just going to do a regular knit 5. Knit the first 5 stitches. And purl the next 5 stitches. And that's it. You're going to keep repeating this throughout the row. Knit 5, purl 5, knit 5, purl 5, purl 5, all the way to the last 5 stitches. When you get to the last 5 stitches, you're going to knit those. Now in my case, I only have 15 stitches, so my last 5 stitches are right here, and I'm going to knit those last 5 stitches. So that is the first row, and that's it, done. Turn your work. Row 2, it's the exact opposite. You're going to purl the first 5 stitches, and then you're going to knit the next 5 stitches. And that's it. You'll keep doing that to the end of the row. When you get to the last 5 stitches, you're going to purl those 5 stitches. And you're going to turn your work. So that was row 1 and 2. You're going to repeat row 1 and 2 more times. So row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6. So row 3 and 4, same as row 1 and 2. Row 5 and 6, same as row 1 and 2. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and I'll meet you back up. Okay, so I've knit up the first 6 rows and you can see here that my little blocks have formed. And now we'll do rows 7 through 12. So for rows 7 through 12, you're pretty much flipping this exactly. So for row 7, you're going to start with purl 5. Get this out of the way. Purl 5 and then knit 5. Okay, so remember to take the yarn to the back to knit 5. And that's it. You're going to keep doing that to the end of the row, to the last 5 stitches, and the last 5 stitches you're going to purl. Now I'm going to show you a trick. Whenever you switch from a knit to a purl, I want you to notice something. If I purl this and then just continue to purl, like I did in the first couple rows that I showed you, what ends up happening is when you switch from a knit to a purl, there's a little bit of slack. You can see here, there's a little bit of a gap, right? So to try and avoid that, let me show you a neat trick. So to do that, I'm gonna go back and unwork these 2 stitches. So we want to tighten that up a little bit. So when you do that, go ahead and purl the first stitch, just like you purl regularly, but then take the yarn to the back and just kind of tug on it, okay? And that helps remove some of that slack. So all you're doing is taking it to the back, just giving it a little bit of a tug, and then purling the next stitch. And that tends to decrease that gap a little bit, that little bit of slack that happens when you go from a knit to a purl. Okay, and so that's it. That's row 7. Row 8, you're going to do the exact opposite. So you're going to do knit 5 and then purl 5. So I'm going to knit the first 5 stitches. And I'm going to bring the yarn to the front so that I can do my purl. Now we're going to do our trick here. We're going to purl that first stitch, take the yarn to the back, give it a little bit of a tug, and then purl the next stitch. So we get a little bit of a tighter weave there, and not much of a gap. And you only have to do this when you're going from knit to purl, not from purl to knit, because with knit, we're automatically taking the yarn to the back and kind of pulling on it, so that gap doesn't happen. It only happens when we do purl, when you go from a knit to a purl. And so this is a great tip to use anytime when you're doing a pattern and you're going from a knit to a purl. So sorry, for row 8, I forgot to mention. So you're going to do knit 5, purl 5, all the way to the last 5 stitches, and then the last 5 stitches, you're going to knit 5. And that's it. You're going to repeat rows 7 and 8 2 more times to get your second block. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that because I want to show you how to cast off in pattern for this. So let me finish that up and I'll meet you back up. So now I've finished knitting up the second part. You can see rows 7 through 12. I've knit in the pattern, and that's it. Those are the 12 rows that you will keep repeating for this pattern. So now I want to show you how to bind off in pattern. Normally when you do it just a regular bind off, we just knit each stitch. So if I was doing a regular bind off, I would knit the first stitch, knit the next stitch, and then put this over and bind it off. Then I would knit the next stitch and bind it off, right? However, in this case, because our stitches are alternating, we've got knit stitches and we've got purl stitches, I want to do a purl, a bind off in a purl for those stitches that are in purl, and a bind off in a knit for those stitches that are knit. And that's just an option. Our first 5 stitches were purl stitches. So you would purl the first stitch, then you would purl the next stitch. And it's the same process. You're going to put this over here to bind it off. The next stitch is also a purl. So I'm going to purl that one and I'm going to bind it off. Now the next 5 stitches in this case are knit stitches. So now I'm going to take the yarn to the back to knit the next stitch, and I'm going to bind it off. And I'm going to do that the same thing for the next 4 stitches because they're all knit stitches. So every time I come to a knit stitch, I'm going to knit the stitch to bind it off. Okay. And one more. And I'm going to bind that off. And the last 5 stitches are purl stitches. So now I'm going to bring the yarn to the front to purl the next stitch and bind it off. Okay, so this is just an option in the case of this pattern, because you get these beautiful blocks of knit and purl that you can choose to do that. So I hope you give this simpler pattern a try. If you like this pattern and if you want to try the more advanced version, you can check that out. Thank you again for watching my video. If you like the video, click the like button. I love to see those thumbs ups. Feel free to share, subscribe, and I hope you, especially for beginner knitters, I hope you give this one a try. It's a really fun pattern to knit, and it's really not that complicated. Thanks again for watching, and happy knitting all.